Hey guys, today I wanted to talk to you about something that has been on my mind for the past weeks. It is one of the biggest reasons why I've had so little motivation these days to make DQ content. Now, I must admit that it is partly my fault for perhaps not taking this seriously enough. However, you have to understand the root of my discouragement. Let me take you back a few years ago, when Dungeon Quest was a nearly brand new game on the platform. The game had a completely different look from nowadays. And although it has improved progressively over time, there still is one thing that was unique to that period, especially for me. You see, when I began playing DQ, somewhere in the early summer of 2019, I was still just a young kid. Now, I remember during my very first gameplays of the game that I had made some sort of dream environment around the game. This might be slightly difficult to grasp at first hand, but simply put, I used to imagine Dungeon Quest was the perfect game. It's not foreign for almost the entirety of the consistent Roblox player base to have experienced this at some point as well, depending on your age. When you find the right game, something that piques your interest and curiosities, you begin playing it. It's the science of the game industry. Returning to this dream environment I had created, Dungeon Quest felt like a game of all potential to me. It felt as if I had the possibility to become very powerful in this immersive magical world. And that gave DQ its charm, as I believe it did to most players who stuck to the game. I remember thinking about this game so positively, there was nothing to change my mind. Of course, during the years, as progression got slower and slower, I played other games, but Dungeon Quest always remained the backbone of my time on Roblox. There it would be, forever sitting in the corner, awaiting its next turn. And this brings me to my point. When Dungeon Quest got sold to Voldex, as you know, in summer last year, nothing much happened until around October 2023. Voldex began pumping out a wave of never-before-seen content, adding new dungeons, currencies, and ultimately resurrecting a new need for the players. At first, this seemed like a good system. Dungeon Quest's player base had risen from a misty 2,000 players to a stable 10,000. On the other hand, the more I played this new era of Dungeon Quest, the less vivid my dream environment became. It was as if my whole gaming experience had been turned into a hollow, lifeless, pay-to-win slot machine, designed only to bring financial gains. Now, let's face it, Voldex has changed Dungeon Quest like never before. It has taken the old game and remodeled it to its liking. It's not rocket science to figure out that all these ads and currencies are made for a single and unique purpose: money-making. This is ultimately the subject for a later video, so let's return to my main argument. The Dungeon Quest I once knew, the Dungeon Quest that once was, the Dungeon Quest of fantasy, dreams, unlimited power, curiosity, friendship, journeys, and legendary moments, is slowly being turned into a desolate plastic wasteland. This effect I will christen the Voldexization effect. vCaffy's Dungeon Quest certainly had a few flaws, that's true, but at least he cared about his game and invested time when he could. Voldex is ripping apart what vCaffy has done and turning it into a mediocre pay-to-win simulation. You don't believe me? Look at the facts. Ads popping up, more and more currencies with more and more shops. And whoever says shops says spend. Spend what? Money. It's a simple equation. Finally, I would like to say that Dungeon Quest is slowly fading into a total wipeout. I can bet, right now, with almost accurate certainty, that in probably half a year, 2 years at best, Dungeon Quest will not exist anymore. What I mean is, it will not look the same, or its player base will either change or die out. If this Voldexization effect continues, it will ultimately be Dungeon Quest's downfall. I do not know where this will take me on YouTube. To be honest, there's a chance I just ignore what's happening to DQ and continue making content for you guys. Or I could completely change all my content and start on another game. I suppose the choice is for me to decide. I hope this message was clear enough for you. Thank you for listening until the very end, and see you in the next one.